Audience, please rise as the guest arrives. Thank you. Please be seated. Education and learning are the cornerstones of personal growth and societal progress. DAKSH is an annual education and career guidance fair hosted by the Student Council of Christ deemed to be University. It focuses on the various opportunities made available to pre-university, undergraduate, and postgraduate students. DAKSH is here to guide students to acquire knowledge and make informed choices regarding their higher education and careers. Through active participation in stalls, dialogues with eminent speakers, as well as career counseling sessions, students will be able to learn about various vocations and fields of studies they could pursue. On that note, we welcome you to DAKSH 2024, the annual flagship event of Christ deemed to be University. I, Lakshmi R. Verma, will be your MC for the day. To be an activist is to speak. To be an advocate is to listen. The society can't move forward without both. Eva Mary Lewis. Please join me in welcoming our guest for this session, Dr. Amar Pandey, IPS. We would also like to welcome Dr. Padmakumar MM for giving a token of appreciation for your presence today. Our gift hamper is sponsored by Bistro Claytopia, India's first concept cafe. Bistro Claytopia is the melting pot of people from various cultures who share a common passion of blending art with food. At Bistro, they strive to give the best possible experience to all their customers. They are committed to quality, value, and your complete satisfaction. Moving ahead, Dr. Amar Kumar Pandey is a distinguished IPS officer who began his illustrious career in 1989 after being inducted into the service with the 42nd regular recruit allotted to the Karnataka cadre. His academic journey is marked by significant accomplishments, including a PhD from the prestigious National Law School of India University in Bangalore, an MA in Economics from Delhi School of Economics, a Master's in Human Rights from the Indian Institute of Human Rights. Sir has served in key roles including ACP in Gangavati and Gulbara, SP in various districts, DCP, DIG in Planning and Modernization, IGP, ADGP, and DGP in crucial departments. Recognized for his valor, he has received awards such as the Police Award for Gallantry, Medal for Meritorious Service, and Medal for Distinguished Services. Notably, he was honored by the Karnataka government for the successful extradition of the infamous Don Ravi Pujari from Senegal, Africa. I request our speaker for the day, Dr. Amar Kumar Pandey, to please come up on stage to enlighten us. Ladies and gentlemen, can we have a round of applause?
Good morning, and thank you for a wonderful introduction. And indeed, it's an honor to be a part of this program and be the first speaker on the day when this program is getting launched. And of course, Christ University is one of one of the best in Bangalore and is being recognized throughout the country. And to be able to address the bright and sparkling youth pursuing their various courses in this university is indeed a great honor for me. So I won't take longer because we have already spent little time in bit of arrangements. So how excited are you about this subject is the main question today. Are you excited? Are you? Sorry. Are you excited about the subject today? This one? It's a very half-hearted thing, so I know that I have to wind up faster. So, Yeah, normally my interactions have been like more like I speak less, hear more, and respond appropriately. So I'll try to stick to the same model. And the subject today is leadership and decision making in public service. Now, leadership is like you just had a reflection of leadership when the lady on the podium, she commanded, silence please, and all of you fell silent. So that's leadership is all about. You listen when somebody talks. But do we have that situation every time? Well, it depends on a lot of factors, and we will see that how it works. So I move the cursor here, or I'll have to call out. Ah, okay. Yeah. So these pictures definitely make you realize that they were not ordinary people. And some of them were national leaders, some of them were international leaders in various fields. Yeah, please internalize this picture because they are the reflections of leadership across the globe. So this concept of leadership essentially is presumed to be what originated from the military command, you know, military commanders and wars and conflict and different kind of situations. So most of the leadership thing emerges, the concept about leadership emerges from military chain of command. And of course, it has traversed a long path. And over the years, it has come to signify mostly with, as we are getting more and more influenced by uh, market economy. So it has come to reflect the essentials of a corporate world that with late Steve Jobs also reflected. So made a very small company into the biggest enterprise of the world. So that's also how leadership works. But nevertheless, there is a need for leadership in every area. And these leaders are they have different traits and different qualities, and how to make a leader, and all those various theories are there, various the concepts are there, which generally psychology student, if somebody is from psychology or management background, you would appreciate that. You must be reading that various concepts of leadership and virtues of leadership and the qualities of leadership and how you can acquire the leadership skills and all that. So it's no more considered to be an innate quality which comes from within, like which is inherent in a person's personality or his charisma. So it has come to be believed that leadership can be created by acquiring certain skills, and of course there are volumes of literature and videos on this subject. So yeah, basically this I have listed here. I'm not a lecturer and I'm not into habit of talking very regularly, but these are some of the things that I put there for your understanding. And if you think that you would like to, any particular aspect of this leadership quality, are you able to see that? I think if you could switch off the lights, slides would be better visible. So the first thing is to organize and not agonize. So leadership can be both painful and helpful. So if they organize, they're considered helpful, and if they're not able to organize and they create a lot of pain and frictions and differences and various kinds of things in society, then we say that this leadership is agonizing. And the same way the teachers, students feel about the teachers also. If he's teaching well, he's able to involve and engage the class, then he's considered a good teacher, otherwise is considered something else. So these are few things about leadership. There's hardworking and quality of things. Whatever good quality in human beings you can imagine, they all leader is supposed to have all of them. There are a few challenges of leadership. These are like how the external environment limits. The way internal environment limits leadership, the same way external environments also limit potential to be a leader. And if he's not capable, not knowledgeable, not skilled, not talented, and things like that. So these are basically, again, the challenges of leadership, where he's not able to put things properly in order to maximize the objective or the goal, whatever he's vested with. So these leaders are, of course, because the subject is here public service. So we are not talking of military commanders. We are not talking of scientists. We are not talking of corporate world. We are essentially talking of people who are in public life, like politicians, the bureaucrats, the police officers, and someone related to that, maybe sometimes people connected with the government but doing a scientific job or something like that. Yeah. So these are few, how do you make a leader, what qualities leader should have. There is another idea about leaders, that you have to be truthful. You should avoid falsehood. You should you should use your resources effectively and manage it properly. You should not be extravagant, and of course, this part has been essentially found to be true when one is vested with the responsibility of looking after a developing nation. You know, you would have seen many newspaper reports where kind of it says that the minister has a very expensive house he has constructed for himself. So one example is somewhere in the North India. And that has come under a lot of criticism, because he's not supposed to be extravagant when we have other pressing priorities to be attended to. So this is the kind of things which I have encaptured here. And yeah, and the important people should keep good company. They should not be seen with bad characters and things like that. So they must avoid few things to be recognized and retained as the society leadership. So why leadership is important? Like, it's important because it is supposed to achieve certain things, to fulfill certain goals, like uh, poverty alleviation. If that is the objective of the country, then our leaders are supposed to work towards that, and they're supposed to remove poverty from the country. Suppose it is about building roads across the country, the road network or the rail network, then they're supposed to achieve that. And only a leader can achieve it when he provides leadership, when he's able to put the resources of the country together, when he's able to put the human resources together, when he puts all this technology and the mix of all these things and all that, when he's brought together with the clear goal that he has to make India well connected by rail network. So then he has to have an objective, he has to mobilize resources and economize on budget and finance. And so these are the kind of things that in public life leadership is supposed to provide. Yeah. So leaders have to be ready to meet failures. Like there are umpteen number of stories about Abraham Lincoln and so many of our own uh, officers who have tried for certain things many times but did not succeed, and they were kind of left in a lurch. But somehow they came back again because of their persistence and their innate qualities of leading, and they somehow made it happen. So you have to accept failure while attempting to do something. One example comes to mind is that when demonetization happened, I don't know, all of you must have been much younger. So it was like a very big thing. It was supposed to get rid of black money. But somehow the thing did not, like, people have different opinions about it. But some people feel that it met its objective of getting the country free of what it was supposed to address, the anomaly of black money. But some felt that it did not happen. So it's a mixed reactions there. And you have to accept as leader that yes, things did not come around as it was expected. So because a leader has to deal with umpteen number of variables, things which are uncertain, things which are not in his control. And despite the best efforts, the known that you are able to, you know that you know the no, and you manage the no, but there's always something lurking around somewhere which is unknown. So that unknown thing impacts your system, and then you are unable to, get your objective, get your goal, despite your most sincere intent and best efforts. So then it is kind of, you have to be ready for that and keep trying for it. And of course, the courage is a very important factor. These are some of those human qualities which a psychologist would be able to relate, that how the brain cognitive part of it functions and how it prepares you for certain roles in society, and what are the innate qualities that you're supposed to possess, and what are the external qualities that you're supposed to imbibe and practice and learn. So these are a few things about that. So whatever good things that you can imagine, the virtues of being a human person, that a leader must have. So I've tried to list some 20, 21 of them. They're here, and I don't need to repeat that. And any particular term that you feel that you need to clarify, or you need to ask a question, which is very rare in a gathering of students, because they don't want to delay their friends from a cup of tea or a break. So, but nevertheless, if you feel like asking, I would be very glad to answer that. Coming to the more important part, which personally I also felt that it was quite an important part of it. And we take many decisions, but we don't know how we take them. Napoleon Bonaparte, one of the greatest ruler of France and one of the greatest military commander, had this to say, that nothing is more difficult and therefore more precious. So what is difficult is also valuable than to be able to decide. There are two levers for moving men: fear and interest. So that explains that why we decide what we decide. And if you are in a position to decide, then you are valuable, because decision making is a valuable process. So basically, decision making is a result of six factors: strategy, planning, design, the structuring part of it, the technology, people, and how it is executed. Do you agree with this? So you would see that whenever a decision is taken without these ingredients, you're not sure of your decision. But to be sure of your decision, these six ingredients are very, very critical. We'll see how it is very critical. But first, you have to agree that they make sense to you. Does it make sense to you? Is it? So this is a small slide which essentially presents before you that when you have less number of variables. Variables means the factors which impact your decision making process. So when you have less number of variables, mostly you work with intuition, and your brain helps you decide that. So 5 variable model is a simple model of thinking and decision making. Now let's go to another model of 50 variables. So you can imagine that there are situations, I don't know as students how many times you come across a situation where you have 50 variables. But in public service, it's a very common phenomenon. I have a few examples are there which you will see that in public service, it's very common phenomena to have to deal with situations where you have to take a lot of decisions, and based on so many factors which are large in number, then what do you do? So, of course, your training is there, your educational background is there, your skill set that you have acquired over the years, that is there with you, and a lot of other things are there. But still, primarily, your decision making ability heavily depends on intuition, learned experiences, or a kind of a false confidence about your ability to control those variables. And then you take addition. So sometimes it turns out by hit and run situation. Sometimes it clicks and sometimes it doesn't click. So though it's a 50 variable model, it's like getting slightly complex, more complex than the 5 variable decision making process. Yeah. So So this is the various levels of complexity as the number of variables, number of situations, number of factors, number of unknown, or even the known. When you get all of them together, so as the number of variables increase, as the factors increase, your mind responds to that in such a manner. So first it's very easy, second 50 factor will be easy, and if you have 100 factors, it's a bit complex, and if you have to deal with 500 factors decision making process, then it is very, very intricate. And how do you take decisions when 100 or plus variables or 500 variables are impacting your mind, and they need to be accommodated in your processing capacity, and you have to decide about something. That's what happens in public service. It's not about a driving skill. It's not about some other navigational thing or some easy managing your kitchen. That also needs a lot of decision. But it's not about managing kitchen. It's not about managing your examination. I know that as a student, that's the most difficult part, how you address your examination system. But in public service, it's a large number of variables impact your decision making. And then how do you do that? How much you depend on your intuition, and how much of it you try to find answer to. So most of the Singhams, they fail here, and as long as it's a small number of variables to address, they are able to do that. And if you have more than 500 variables, most of the officers, they find it very difficult to decide, and that leads to a lot of psychosomatic reflections in their body. So, of course, decision making depends on the kind of assignment that you have. If you're working in like somebody has to send Chandrayaan on the moon, that's a decision. Somebody has decided that Indian Chandrayaan should be on the moon. So what kind of decision-making processes are integrated there? And how many factors you imagine that the persons who are involved with this project would have incorporated in their decision-making? Otherwise, we wouldn't have been on moon. Somebody is making roads across the country, connecting the national highways and the beautiful roads and toll gates and things like that. So how many factors you think would have that involved? They are huge number, massive number. And in public service, these kind of decisions have to be taken every year. So similarly, say we had a situation with our neighboring country, China, in Ladakh. So it's a very delicate situation, and almost like we are on the verge of having war with another neighbor, and a lot of decisions have to be taken. So, what kind of variables are uh, getting engaged in decision making? That what we should do? Is it all intuitive? Is it all impromptu? Or is it just that our display of muscle? What what would have taken the decision makers to take those decisions? So that's the kind of thing that a public servant has to, some military commander who's also a public servant has to take that decision. And like we had recently this some of the examples that I've tried to bring it here for your understanding. You're familiar with most of them. So Article 370, which we adopted at the time of independence of India, and we had a situation in Kashmir, and of course it has a long history, big history of the thing, and a certain constitutional provision was made to keep Kashmir with India. Now, over the years, the public opinion has built that that special provision needs to be removed. So somebody has to take a decision. So these are the kind of public civil public affairs the decision making processes have to. It's not about running a corporate or selling a toothpaste or making your country a $1 billion company. It's not about that. It's about how you serve your people, how you serve your country. Now, one example I've given about, you see a lot of fire and all that. So that's about our own Karnataka situation where we have river water sharing dispute, which keeps cropping up often. And you see the kind of violence. And so this was one situation which I had to handle when I was IG of Bangalore, Inspector General of Bangalore Range. And I was deputed to Mandya district to deal with Kaveri riots. And they're our own people, the farmers. And the Supreme Court has given a judgment that you have to release water. This is, I'm talking of 2013. So water has to be released to a neighboring state because of certain agreement made many years ago. And of course, the tribunal's decisions over the years. And our people are up in arms and they are agitated that they will not give the water. Now, there's a conflict situation where in public service you have to take certain decisions. So, what kind of decisions you take? So, that is how handling these kind of complex problems appear. One example is election. For you, it's a very simple process that you ensure that your name is there on the list, and then you go to the booth and they put some ink here and you press some EV machine, some voting machine, and you give your priorities for a particular political dispensation. But imagine the whole country is going through this election process. Then what kind of decisions are taken? Are these all just following in the footsteps? Are these only the legacy decisions which have already been taken in the past? Or, you have to do certain things differently and you have to take certain decisions differently. And so these are the kind of decision which a civil servant has to take and the leadership in the civil services has to take. One more nice example I see is Aadhaar. You see Aadhaar here. All of us have Aadhaar today. But imagine 1.3 billion people. Can you imagine the number, the zeros of people? We are just 500 here, roughly 500. I don't know how many. But you all look so many. And imagine 1.3 billion people being given their identity in the form of a card, recognizing and legitimizing your citizenship of this country. And all your benefits, including your bank accounts, your admissions here, and if you go somewhere, some tickets and this and that, everywhere that card is working. And it helps you get a lot of benefits from the government. So somebody just thought of it, and today we have Aadhaar card. It has been executed. So from an idea to what we call instantiation, reality. So from idea to reality, we have many decisions taken, and then we see the actualization or the realization of the benefit of a decision taken at some point of time. Now, COVID vaccine, COVID came, affected all of us. For 2 years, we were all locked in our houses, and the whole world was going through so much of turmoil. It has affected every part of human existence, and everything was, it was so painful. And incidentally, I happened to be the state nodal officer from the police department to participate in all the actions which were, decisions that were being taken to protect people from COVID. And lakhs of people were migrating. Our people living in Karnataka, they belong to Karnataka, working outside, they were coming in. People who were working in Karnataka belong to other places, they were going out. So these are the kind of you know complexities that it brought in. So there were like more than 500 plus variables coming into play. The highest number of variables one can imagine was seen in the time of COVID. But it was managed, and COVID vaccine came into play, and then the whole population had to be vaccinated, and also so many complicated decisions in public service had to be taken. So how do we take these decisions? What are the processes? Are there any, is just by the thought which occurs in your head that you deal with it, or you actually have a framework to deal with it, or you can evolve a framework to deal with it? So this is what I have tried to do for you here. It's a far more complicated actually for an undergrad and postgrad students to appreciate that. But I would request you just to have a visual kind of introduction to what I'm going to put before you, and maybe in due course of time, if your interest is is more and you feel like learning more about it, you can try and go for it. But right now, it's more for a visual understanding and little bit of whatever I'm talking, and even if it doesn't make sense, but try to follow. Yeah. So leadership is about decision making public service for the welfare of people. That's very critical, and needs an architecture, needs a framework of decision making rather than mere intuition. So this is it's my conclusion, and these are the sentence I have developed it. So in this regard, when this thing started bothering me personally, I'm not talking anything which you would get in your textbooks. I'm not talking anything which is already written or spoken about, and most of the things are written and spoken about is from the corporate world, where things are mostly for the serving themselves and incidentally serving public, but majorly it is serving themselves, and it swells their profit and bank balance and all that. Uh, but there are not many subjects there which effectively tells you how to take a decision. There are theories and all that are there which you can read and learn in textbook. I don't need to talk in 40 minutes about that. But I would like to share with you how to take decisions. Are there ways to take decision? Are there frameworks to take decision? Is there something in the vast knowledge that helps you take decision, or it can help you take decision? So this is the what is the crux of my presentation today, and yeah. So there is one, what I call the enterprise architecture framework, which I've been working upon since 2009, more out of sheer personal interest, and started as a hobby, and now I pursue it rather little more seriously, and I try to develop models around that. Yeah. So this is my own definition of decision making, is a complex multidisciplinary mechanism that enables seamless integration of subsystems of variables of identification, processes, designing, technology, and people for effective and efficient regulation and application of all resources for realization of societal objective for the welfare of the people and absence of chaos. Yeah. So, what makes things complex? When two variables join together, the coming together of two variables produces another variable, which is many times more in terms of scale and volume and size. So, two variables come together and make a system more complex. So, if you have 500 variables, imagine their interactions among themselves and what they produce. That will be far more complex than the variables themselves. So and complexity is inevitable in life. It will come, especially in public service. You have to deal with many complex situations, and it is inevitable. So you have to develop certain framework to deal with it. So basically, I'm left with just about 7-8 minutes. So I'll quickly cover it. So basically, these are civilizational, interrogatives are there. What, when, where, why, who, and things like that, and how basically processes. And there are 6 perspectives. So this is a strategy perspective, planning perspective, design perspective, technology perspective, and technicians perspective, who actually use tape and measures and put things together, the smallest part of it, and then the execution and the operation. So when you have 6 perspectives and you have 6 interrogatives put together, they produce a matrix. Now this matrix is it's not moving. Something happened. This slide has to move. Go to the next one. So, goals and strategy is basically identifying the details, and then processes. Basically, you have to define each and every part of the work. And design is like, how do you put things together? So if there is a very big complex system, so what you do, you, according to your knowledge and your skill set and your capability and your understanding, you break them into many parts. If it is 500, make it if you are able to understand just about 5 variables, so play with 5, 5, 5, 5, 5 like that. So break down to smaller architecture, and then you try to work on that. And then, of course, the technology, whatever technology you have to identify, and when it has to be, suitability of the technology has to be brought into play. And then you have to the right skill set to bring these things together as instructed by the objective statement and the planners, and the way it has been designed and the way the technology has been used. So all these 4 combinations, you have to get some people to fix it, in the way you like, and then execute it and see that whether it has to move. Can you move the slide, this one, from there somewhere? It's got stuck. I'll just close it. This slide is not moving. This, yeah. So it's getting slightly more and more complex as we proceed. And So it's a colorful slide for your visual pleasure, actually, but they mean very simple things. The slides wants to be before you for a little longer. What do we do? Yeah, something has come. Yeah. You have that icons on the left.
We'll have to go to that. We'll try fixing it. So you continue, we'll try fixing it. What timing?
Oh, then let me take my fix it. Doesn't matter. But I just thought they would.
Is that we'll try to fix it?
This will be more.
Use the code.
Yeah. Yeah, it's okay. This one has come here.
Probably so.
It's
It's not possible. It's not connected.
can you connect it there?
Just 1 minute, so.
Yeah. So this presentation actually
It's connected only. It's connected.
have this visual observation to be able to appreciate, because while speaking, it's not like delivering a lecture or something like that, and it's more to appreciate that how things are connected, and it's very difficult to explain in a lecture mode these kind of new ideas. You won't find them anywhere, and it's almost like yeah, it has come. Why did it? Yeah,
Thank you, sir.
yeah, thank you. So these kind of presentations have little so what it says that the different interrogatives and different perspectives, they are independent and they're also interdependent. So when you have interrogatives and you have perspectives, so they create about 36 cells. And each of the cell, you have to define, capture the ingredients of that, and then try to work uh, on that particular mode only. Like strategy, so if I say what is the strategy, so what word is basically is the definitional part of it, and that will clearly define the strategy of your work that you are going to do. Similarly, strategy and interrogative is who. So who has to do the strategy? So then that has to explain that part. So why it is giving trouble?
We'll get to mic and
So then each part has to be interrogatives and perspectives have to be built. Then you have 36 cells, and then work through the cells and arrive at some decision making. And I had given two examples. One was that educational reforms. So how educational reform? We have now new education policies in existence. So how the new education policy, how it has been evolved, how the decision around new education policy has been taken and it has been brought into existence. This was one example of that. And another example was that I was dealing when I was working with the United Nations in Bosnia. You have heard of Bosnia? Bosnia-Herzegovina, it was a part of former Yugoslavia, Republic of Yugoslavia, and they had a massive civil war there. And in the civil war, a lot of people lost their lives and millions of people got displaced. So I had built a model around how to get these people who were displaced, how to get them back to their country and you know get them reintegrated in the society and help remove the conditions which led to displacement. So in fact, one of my book is also on that architecture of return in civil war, Bosnia, Herzegovina, and Sierra Leone. There was another African country where also I got an opportunity to serve with the United Nations. So this kind of architecture helps in decision making, and it's a though it's a very complex architecture, is one of the most complex model in the world. But if you spend little time on this model, it helps you take the most critical decisions facing the society. So, and for civil services, civil servants, I think we have not been using this model so much in the country, perhaps because of the lack of awareness about the existence of a model like this. But I'm sure in due course of time, this model will be adopted more and more to serve and take decisions in the interest of the society. One very interesting fact about this framework, which is called Enterprise Architecture Framework of Decision Making by the top CEOs of the world, and a good number of Fortune 500 companies. You know, the companies which are very rich and which serve us in many ways. So, good number of these very successful companies also use this enterprise architecture framework to deal with their problem. And one thing I would like to share, that this is basically a technological concept. So this technological concept of decision making has more certainty than the social context of decision making. And in technology, the most beautiful part is that there's less human interference there. So human beings are considered to be the most, the biggest disruptors, because different people think differently, and they have their own, innate issues, which sometimes become big hurdles in social situations to take decisions. But in technology, it's more of a process-based thing and more of a what is already available, innovations and discoveries. So we find that in technological situation, this framework has helped develop some of the most complicated systems, models, products, and many of these products are serving us also today. So from my side, I think it's going to take a little longer. So decision making, uh, 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 I'm not into the managerial part of decision making. I'm not into the psychological part of decision making. I'm more into how to take a correct decisions in a complex situation. So I know that in the absence of these few slides, which would have made little bit more, given little more clarity about to you about decision making processes. But anyway, the situation is like this. This is the variable which has added to our complexities today. So if you have any question around this, uh, I would be happiest to answer that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We greatly appreciate your insightful session. I'm sure everybody in the audience has gained extensive knowledge and insight from sir's session. To our audience, kindly note that we are opening the floor to questions. We will be taking 2 questions. The floor is yours, sir.
Yeah. Yeah. Can I see you? Oh, there. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's a very tough question, actually. Yeah, most of the great leaders, they remain unnoticed because, the leadership has a great quality that when they achieve success, they credit it to their team. They credit it to sometimes God and, everybody else except themselves. Um but when it meets with a failure, they become the face of failure. And you must have read in newspaper that one beautiful example was when some of our space missions were not successful in the early part of its inception. So there used to be a great leader. Uh, his name was Vikram Sarabhai. So Vikram Sarabhai, whenever the projects would fail, he would say that I am responsible. It has failed because of me, and he would take all the blame. But when the missions were successful, it was always some project director, some of his colleague, who would be put before the media and before the society. So these are the qualities of leadership, the great leaders. They don't work for themselves. So the biggest thing about leaders is that they don't work for themselves. They work for the society. That is the biggest motivator, and that is the purpose. So basically, leadership is not a position of comfort. Leadership is not a position of benefits. Leadership is all about sacrifice. So, in that context, the great leaders remain unnoticed. And the second part of your question was that how to become a great leader in a short time. So, well, this is the modern mindset that we want to become successful in short time. We want to become leader in short time. We want to become everything in a very short time, but it doesn't happen that way. And leadership is basically is not just either or situation. It's a lot of combination of a lot of factors that make leaders. So these are some of the whatever was listed here in the presentation. They are basically suggestive of what helps you become a leader. What really makes you a leader, even I don't know, And the leaders themselves don't know that what made them the leader. So many leaders you would see that they are product of situations, like you would have seen in movies, like trade union situations are being shown in movie, and suddenly one very docile and low profile person raises a question which connects with everybody's heart and mind, and then from that moment onwards he becomes the leader. So it's a combination of lot of things, and basically the subject is taught with the confidence that leaders can be prepared. Though there are two theories that leaders are either you're born with the quality of becoming a leader, or you don't have it. But like most of the management theories, we believe that everything can be created, because we are in a time of mass production. We are in a time of information age. We are in a time of futuristic, looking towards futuristic society. So we think that everything can be created. So that is where the inherent fallacy is there, and it gives a kind of, it gives a feeling that leaders can be created, but well, different opinions are there on that. Yeah, I hope my answer resonated with your understanding. Yeah. Yeah, that's quite political question. So one of the guideline before I came, I was going through what are the guidelines for me to follow in this lecture. They said remain apolitical. So anyway, charisma is a very important part of leadership, and that gives a wider acceptability. And people look up to you for you being something different than them. If you are not different than them, then perhaps they may not follow you. So they look for that difference, and if it kind of aligns with their own understanding and priorities and appreciation, they follow you. So charisma is a very, very important part of leadership. That's why you will see that leaders are also known for doing bizarre things sometimes. So that is to draw attention. That is to look different. And so in police department, which I served for 35 years, I suddenly, we had all served long number of years, and then suddenly a young crop of officers were coming, and we started hearing around the same time Ajay Devgan movie had also come, and suddenly we found that a lot of singhams are getting popped up in the system, and we said, what are these singhams? So basically that was to draw attention and show that they're different than other police officers, and they can, but many of them disappeared in the motion of time and situations. So well, that I think explains your part of the question. Yeah, thank you. Very good question. Yeah. In fact, the question was as long as the answer. Yeah. We have time? We don't have time. Yeah. So I think if there's any question on decision making, of course, I'm sorry about that. The very beautiful presentations, 3, 4 slides were really uh, enigmatic, and they were really beautiful. But anyway, some other time. And anything on decision making? No? Thank you very much. It was great pleasure speaking before you.
Thank you so much, sir, for taking time. I request Dr. Amar Kumar Pandey to please stay on stage, and I welcome Dr. Padma Kumar MM to present our speaker with a memento as a token of our appreciation. Can we have a round of applause, please?
And I believe Daksh is a career counseling role also they play. I wish you all the best, and I wish you that you all become leaders of this country and serve the society in future. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your invaluable knowledge, sir. I now call upon Laura Hegde to deliver the vote of thanks.
That brings the proceedings for today to a close. We are extremely grateful to our speaker, Dr. Amar Kumar Pandey, for enlightening the way to increase our knowledge. Thank you to everyone who contributed to the seamless operation of the event, including the teachers, management, and volunteers. Thank you all for being such a great audience. Have a wonderful day ahead.
With that, we come to the end of today's session. I request Dr. Padma Kumar to escort our chief guest outside. I request the audience to remain seated until the chief guest leaves.